what we're going to talk about, because the trend that is all the rage on TikTok and everyone is talking about it in fashion right now, is the mob wife aesthetic. Is this like the woman that wears fur that apparently looks like a mob wife? And this is what everyone is talking about on TikTok. So I actually have a TikTok that we can watch where someone was talking about, in their words, what the mob wife aesthetic is. And then after that, I really want to talk about sort of trend cycles in fashion right now and how ridiculous I personally think it is. But anyway, let's watch.
Clean girl is out, mob wife is in. Here's what this means. We're doing messy hair, we're doing big furs. If your hair isn't perfectly slicked back, that is totally fine. It's an attitude, it's an aura. We all want to be the mob boss's wife. Clean girl is out, mob wife is in.
It's very weird, like wearing leather trench coats and, fur jackets and sunglasses. It's really weird. And why I wanted to bring this mob wife trend up is because it's more of like a question of, why do you guys think that these days we have to just label everything? Like, women have been wearing cheetah fur forever. Why do we just need to label it as mob wife now? Why do we have to, like, ballet core, cottage core, norm core, gorp core? Why does everything have to be a core? And why are microtrends so fast on TikTok? It's so insane. It's so different to when I was young. When I was young, fashion trends actually lasted like 3 or 4 years, no joke, before like this whole like TikTok era. Like, I remember when people were wearing skinny jeans and studded belts and all that stuff, that sticked for like 3 years, the swag era. Trend cycles are not as fast. Now, it seems like every 3 weeks, people are like changing their whole wardrobe. It's like, oh, you want to look like ballerinas now? Oh, okay, now we want to look like mob wives. Okay, now we want to just kind of look like we hike, even though we just walk to the cafes in our city. Yellow says, because people want to make content. I guess that's a good point, because it is a content farm, isn't it? It's always like, so long as you have a new trend to manufacture and to create, then you can just kind of, get someone to wear a one sailor hat and call it the sailor wife, sailor core. Every fashion Pinterest comment section is just, what aesthetic is this? What's the name of this style? This is a good take. People like to be told what to do. But then I think people kind of have always wanted to be told what to do. But then, let's say before TikTok, we didn't necessarily have to label things that already existed, that we kind of just understood existed, if that makes sense. But then going back to like Iola's point about, it being good for content, it might just be to feed the content farm. Fashion reflects society. It shows people's inability today to decide upon who they want to be. Really good take. So that people can search trends faster if they have some kind of name on it, and then search it online to buy similar items. That's a strong point, actually, because people have said that these like core names and these trend namings are actually good for like brands, because you can then have a norm core or gorp core section on your website, so it makes things easier to sell, because people that want to buy the latest trend can literally shop by trend on your website and just buy the whole look, which is crazy that people, like, individuality has been so lost from style that people are literally going to stores to buy a trend look, like the whole look, the whole aesthetics. Quite insane. Yeah, just like what Ao is saying, as soon as you can tag it, you can sell it, anything to prove you're on to the next thing first. I guess that's also another thing, right? Because that's like this concept of people wanting to be the first to do things. So it's this thing where I invented the, mob wife thing. I'm the first person to talk to it. So I guess people want to laud themselves as innovators. So I guess in a way, for content creators, it makes a lot of sense to create a name for a trend so that you're tied to that trend and you're sort of like the innovator that, started this trend on TikTok, and you get your Vogue interviews and your Women's Wear Daily and Elle magazine interviews, and you do the cycle, and then it's on to the next person. And I think it's quite interesting that this trend is coinciding with, the release of Griselda on Netflix. that Netflix series on Griselda Blanco's life is very, very interesting because a lot of people have been tying the mod wife aesthetic with the fact that they're bringing that show back this year. Microtrends are a result of overconsumption, and overconsumption comes from TikTok. It's a vicious self-eating cycle. Yeah, I think I'm very unaware of what goes on TikTok in the sense that there are people that literally do like live stream shopping on TikTok. I don't understand it. I've never actually seen one happen, but I know it does happen. And I don't know how. Maybe people just have a lot of money. Maybe I'm just broke. Maybe maybe that's what it is. Because I do not have enough money to just be on a live stream and I see something I like and I'm just like, oh, let me buy it. I have to like write things that I like down. I have to think about it for 6 months before I finally buy it. I just can't be that impulsive with purchases. I just do not have that kind of money. So maybe kids these days on TikTok, they're making money in ways I don't know. The kids these days must be rich because that's why, kids these days wear Balenciaga and things like that. When I was younger, I was wearing Lonsdale. And I was shopping at the clearance section of TK Maxx. Nowadays, kids are walking around with Canada Goose jackets, so maybe it's me. Maybe I'm just broke. I always say people underestimate how rich the world is. There's a lot of money sloshing around. We just don't have it. Good point. I also think the mob wife aesthetic is due to the Sopranos being such a thing in pop culture more than Griselda. That's actually a really good point, by the way. Let me Google mob wife and see what comes up. How about mob wife aesthetic 2024? A lot of like the cheetah prints that they associate with this sort of mob wife look. It's such a strange name as what, mob wife. Why do you want to look like a mob wife? The internet is a strange place. Imagine being some like posh kid from the suburbs, like, talking about, I want to look like a mob wife. This is a strong point. Yep. Impact of cultural movies, Goodfellas, The Godfather, classics. But what is so, maybe you guys can answer this question, but what is so unique about 2024 that now kids on TikTok want to look like a woman in like The Godfather? What is it about that? I know obviously we've talked about The Sopranos and stuff like that. Maybe that's what it is. That's quite interesting that like TV shows literally have that much pull that they can cause fashion trends on TikTok. That's insane. That's actually insane because the mob wife trend, the first article I saw about the mob wife aesthetic was about maybe the first few days of January on Vogue Business. And it was like, how have they already made a trend 6 days into 2024? This is insane. Everything is becoming caricatured, especially in fashion. Everything is pastiche. Yeah, I completely agree with that. You're just taking different people's like aesthetics or like different people's looks and sort of packaging it into a fashion trend. I even love they've even got these like mob wife. They've got like each piece that you can wear. So they're telling you how to dress like a mob wife. Wear these boots with these trousers, with these sunglasses. Flipping out. Mob wife aesthetic, rich mum. I actually love the internet so much. Mob wife is literally coke core. Trend actually started from someone doing a TikTok and how ridiculous it was. The trend is more people jumping on, repeating that TikTok as a video trend than actually what people are wearing. Well, thank goodness for that. Mob wives are living a life of luxury and excess, a life of leisure. A mob wife is a trophy wife. It feeds this obsession of the display of wealth in society with Birkins, cars and stuff. You know what? That's a really good point. Let's talk about this, right? I've noticed on social media there's like this weird obsession with just like rich people and wealth and like high society. That's kind of where quiet luxury comes from, right? Everyone's trying to like um cosplay as like rich people, right? Everyone wants to be like, oh, I'm classy like the rich. And there's like this disgusting obsession with like rich people that people have, especially on TikTok more so than any other social media platform. And I don't know where that comes from. Like, what is this like obsession with how the rich live and what the rich wear and how the rich dress and what the rich do? It's just like, man, how about just live your life? How about do what you want to do? People are so broke right now. We have to LARP wealth. We never making it out the hood. I don't know. It's like someone like me, I don't have a lot of money at all. I would consider myself, even though I'd say growing up, I was definitely growing up. I grew up as like a middle class person. I would say that what I would consider myself now is working class because I have high bills because of where I live. So by the time I pay all my bills, I don't have that much disposable income left. So I'd consider myself like working class. And even with my financial situation, I've never like considered I've never like thought I want to dress like rich people. I've never been obsessed with like what rich people do. I've never thought, oh my God, I want to dress like the rich. Oh my God, I want to like live my life like rich people. Where do the rich people go? I want to go there. I've never a second in my life cared about stuff like that. So that's why I was asking, where does this obsession come from? Because it's kind of hard for me to understand in a way. Leo says, I don't remember capitalism ever being this bad. Yeah, I know, right? It's just like culture now is super hyper capitalistic.
I've never understood the thing of like wanting to dress rich or like wanting to look like a rich person because like, well, you're not.
Good Lord.
No, like genuinely though, I've never understood that thing, man. Like, because imagine let's say you actually blow a bag on like you want to do quiet luxury, you blow 8 racks on like some Prada and Bottega. Okay, now what? You're still going back to your
to square one.
Yeah, bro. You're still going back to your apartment. You're struggling to pay rent. Like, I've never understood it. Also, I feel like in today's climate, no one really looks at someone on the street and is really like, oh, that person's rich because they're like, I feel like fashion's come so far that like you don't really assume people's backgrounds as much based on what they're wearing. Do you know what I mean? Like you can someone can be in like a full Gucci tracksuit and I really wouldn't assume them to be rich at all. At all. But so that's why I think for me I've never understood it on that level as well because like fashion's come so far that like it's impossible to know someone's background based on what they're wearing.
Right. It's interesting though how that, especially on TikTok, more so than anywhere else, there's just this obsession. Especially it seems to be because obviously TikTok's audience skews younger. And it's like, these young kids, like, stay in school. Like, you should be thinking about the exams you have to do. You shouldn't be thinking about trying to, like, cosplay as a rich person.
No, maybe they want to be a wag. Marry Eden Hazard and call it a day, fam.
Eden Hazard, that's crazy. And he's got a lot of time on his hands now. He's retired.
Exactly. Just be a wag, call it a day.
No, the fashion landscape these days is hilarious. Like, yo, because if you think of like Micah when we were younger, right? The kind of stuff we were wearing, it's peak for kids these days. Yeah, bro, I was wearing Lonsdales from Sports Direct that cost £10 from the clearance rack.
Yeah,
and it was actually cool to wear that. Like I wasn't. No one made fun of me for that.
If I wore my Tiempos to school, bro, I was on swag. If I wore my Tiempos to school, oh my gosh! Now I don't even want to know what they're trying to wear to school.
Now it seems like because all these kids have like Moncler jackets and stuff. I'm like, a Moncler jacket in secondary school? Oh my word. Like,
I don't think I had
that's crazy.
any branded clothing, like outerwear wise, in secondary school.
I'm like, where
until
do
the
you
end.
guys find, where did they find this money? Bro, when I was younger, my parents used to give me pocket money. It was £10 a week. So I remember one time, because I used to play basketball, I bought like my first Jordans from like Chicago. And they cost me 100 and something like pounds. Bro, I saved 11 weeks to buy a pair of shoes. So I'm like, when these kids are just buying these one clothes, I'm like, where's this money coming from? Like, where?
Also, what's weird is now as well, the stuff is more expensive than it was when we were younger. So as in like, even if we did want a Moncler for back then, it was cheaper at least. Now the prices
Right.
of everything is so expensive. I really don't know where people are getting their money from, bro.
This YouTube channel runs on your support. If you want to support the channel, you can subscribe to my Patreon. You'll gain access to exclusive content that includes everything from my Patreon podcast, where I give a behind the scenes insight into the fashion industry, as well as a fashion book club where I review my favorite fashion books. You can also check out my fashion ebook, which highlights the best fashion journalists to follow, definitions of common fashion terminology, and how to determine what a good source of fashion information is. The links to everything are in the description below.